Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a long time coming. Firstly, Merry Christmas to those who celebrate and Happy Holidays to everyone else. 2020 is right around the corner, so make the most out of it, my boys. Secondly, there is a good reason why this video took some time to make. We're going to be getting fairly deep into both God Eater and Code Vein, so if you've only played Code Vein, which most of you I would expect that's kind of the case, you're not going to really know much about God Eater. You kind of just have to take what I tell you, right? For those who want to have a bit more context behind it, I've prepared something for you. I began my God Eater lore series about 4 months ago with duo intentions. Firstly, it was suggested by a subscriber, no name, but whenever he said it, I thought firstly, GE3 is getting updates, and so this would be a nice place once I catch up, 2, 3, God Eater 3, we could then kind of discuss on there. And then secondly, for people like you that don't have any context, don't have the time to sink in like 300 plus hours in all the other previous God Eater games, but want to understand the story to see how there is this connection. So if you are one of those people, be sure to check out, I did it first try. Be sure to check out that series right now. I put a lot of work into it and I really hope you enjoy it. But that's enough talk, bro. Let's get into the topic at hand. Right, feel free, because this is a God Eater centered to an extent channel, so feel free to add any clues you guys find in the comments below. If we have a lot of information from that, I will make a part 2, right? I will follow up with this and provide more clues, but nonetheless, let's go. So is Code Vein connected to God Eater, the God Eater world, right? So right now all we have is really not much. We just have a little sentence or two or whatever that the producer told us prior to the game's release.
開発チームが、ゴトイタを作っていた開発チームから制作されている IP ではあるんですけれども、そのままシリーズを継続するのではなく、独自の、新規 IP として一つ、立ち上げようと。
So, I mean, whenever you tell me that, that's the expectation that I'm going to have going into this game. And I even would tell people guys, it's not connected, because people will be commenting on my videos Jam, I don't know, man, it might be connected. I'm like, guys, listen, that's what he told us. That's what I'm going to go with. And here we are now. So let's start from that point, right? If he would have said there is a connection between the games, the whole time I'd have been hawkeyeing, looking for the clues, signs, anything at all while playing through it. But that wasn't the case. Yet, as I'm playing through it, I'm seeing a few cameos. Booger Rally, right? Let's start from there. Without getting too in-depth, Booger Rally is a TV show that first appeared in God Eater. And in my Code Vein playthrough, whenever I gave Murasame a Booger Rally doll, first off, sign, what the heck, whatever, I gave it to her, she just went in depth about the TV show, right? She knew exactly what it was. Not only that, Mia and I think I heard Yakumo also had a response about it, basically saying that they know it. So it's off the bat, and that was, I feel like, by episode 3 or 4 in my playthrough. So very early in my playthrough, I already see some type of connection between the two games. What am I supposed to think? But, it's whatever. I still took the producer's word at this point. It was like, all right, it's fine. Maybe that's just a little bit of a, they just want to have some fun and throw that in there. And then we skip through the game a little bit. We get to the point where Mito does that one thing, causes Gregorio to lose control, and all of a sudden the red mist clears, and then the biggest plot twist of 2019 happens. A Dias Pita appears. The flagship monster for, I guess, God Eater base, I would say, and then he's kind of the flagship for the anime as well. And it wasn't until this point that my head started spinning. And it made this video eminently to come. And something that is so hidden in a way because it's not really marketed at all in the game itself is this. We have this man who is the star of the show, all of God Eater. Honestly, the whole franchise, the lore, he's very prevalent, very important. Lindau Amamiya. All of a sudden, the other guy who's very popular, very imminent, a big piece of the story in Code Vein is Louis Amamiya. Now, did you know this? Because, I think it was Ray brought this to our attention at one point when we did a little live stream when I was trying to get some crowdsourced information. He showed me this and we were all starstruck because I think you get this from the website. That's the only place you can find this. This is pretty interesting. The biggest thing here is Louis, Lindau, they honestly share personalities. Obviously not one-to-one, but I feel like the DNA is there. We'll leave it at that. So with those little cameos out the way, because we don't have too much of an explanation for them, we can actually really begin this video. And on that note, I forgot to mention, this isn't fully all me, right? We had a live stream where I asked you guys, we brainstormed, right? It was like a 2-hour session. It was good. And then in the Discord squad, we also had a little brainstorm call as well. And this is kind of what we came up with. So yeah, let's get into it. Start things off real weird, bro. Both beginning world calamities in both Code Vein and God Eater are the exact same. Taking a look at the official statement, or should I say explanation, from Bandai Namco about the Great Collapse, which is the name of the calamity that suddenly attacked the world. The Thorns of Judgment destroyed the greater part of most cities, and it is said that nearly half of mankind died. But the thing with that is the God Eater side of things, they don't got no name for that. They basically just said we fucked up. That's the name of the calamity on the God Eater side. And the reason for that is because they caused the shit. So right, get this. Episode 8 of the God Eater lore anime, we see the same exact situation happen where all of a sudden, after Oracle Cell's outbreak, escape containment, these Thorns of Judgment just come out of the ground all across the world.
Earthquake?
So with that information, first step, we can say that Code Vein happens before God Eater 1. The Oracle Cells break out in the 2040s, and by mid-2050s, the first origami appears. And Dr. Sakaki from God Eater 1 even says that the first origami appeared in a different continent from where they were. And apparently that whole continent was wiped out. The thing with that is, for the Code Vein side of things, the red mist was keeping them trapped, kind of safe in a way, but at the same time, they're blocking all communications to anything out of the outside world. So with that being said, we can kind of assume that Dr. Sakaki they couldn't contact anybody outside of their continent, so they assumed that they were all dead, even though what could really be happening is the whole game of Code Vein. So like I said, 2040s, 2050s, around when the first origami appeared, whereas God Eater 1 takes place in 2071. And if you notice, Code Vein's the Thorns are very prevalent there because it's fresh, right? They're kind of new. This is pre-God Eater 1, whereas in God Eater 1, we don't really see that many Thorns. We do see some, I believe, but we don't see that many. And the last part that solidifies the fact that Code Vein would be before God Eater 1 is because after God Eater 1, Shio, the Singularity, goes to the moon and terraforms it, changing it to be a blue tint rather than the red that we see in Code Vein. So let's continue. So now that we've kind of established the timeline of when Code Vein sits, let's talk about the games and kind of their whole concepts, I guess. So we'll take it from the top. What are origami? And what are revenants? My theory is that the heart of a revenant is actually an origami core. Where's that definition of origami? Hold up. While they take on the form as being one, an origami is actually composed of as a colony of hundreds of thousands of sentient single-celled organisms known as Oracle cells that group around under an origami core, also known as Oracle CNS, that acts as the origami's central nervous system. In short, origami are superorganisms with swarm intelligence that takes on a variety of formations. These forms can appear as organic, artificial, even mythical, hence the name origami. All right, cool. So what about revenants? How are they created? What's that one thing called again? I forget. Coming back to Bandai's official words, the birth of revenants. Revenants are artificially created and immortal soldiers made for the purpose of defeating the strange creatures referred to as monsters. In game, they're called horrors. This was way early before the release that appeared alongside the world's destruction, aka the Great Collapse. They possess extremely high physical abilities compared to a regular human and can vanish and revive any number of times as long as their heart is not destroyed. And then we have the BOR parasite. BOR is an abbreviation for a parasite known as the biological organ regenerative formula. It parasites onto the heart of a corpse that has lost its biological functions and can control and operate all of its organs, including the brain, by pumping its own blood throughout the body. So by implanting an improved BOR parasite into the heart of a dead human in order to keep the corrosion level at a certain condition, the Revenant, an immortal being that can maintain I was doing so good, that can maintain its natural will, was born. So to tie it all together, let's put our theorizing caps on. All right, cells can turn into parasites. So maybe it's something like Oracle cells have mutated, less stabilized Oracle cells. Maybe they got a few extra control over the Oracle cells to make them keep that corrosion level at a certain level. I don't know. I really don't know. But I think what still stands is there's some type of connection going on here between Oracle cells and BOR parasites. To continue, we have a term coined by the Code Vein people, ashification. Total ashification of a Revenant's host body caused by the bond collapse of the body cells when the BOR parasite that parasited their heart is destroyed. In such a situation, the Revenant will never again be able to revive and will meet their death, even though they're immortal. So all you gotta do is kill their heart. Okay. And like once the parasite dies, the rest of the body loses its functions because that core was kind of controlling everything. Man, this is sounding way too familiar. Get this. How to kill an origami. Origami can't be killed by conventional weapons, hence normal guns and swords ain't gonna cut it. The only way to truly kill an origami is to extract the origami core by using the only weapons capable of doing so, the God Arc. Removing the core makes the Oracle cells lose their cohesion and dissipate into nothingness. Wait. Before we even talk about that, something to point out, Murasame, when she's talking about horror, she even says that herself. Oh, she's like, these horrors can't be killed by conventional weapons. I can't remember what else she says, but she literally says that. And while origami and revenants, you don't feel like they're very similar, the one thing that they do share is that they have an origami core at the center controlling everything. It's what allows the revenants and origami to both be immortal, because as long as that thing is intact, they're good. But the difference here is that revenants are humans, so you can kill them with conventional means because it's easier to get through the flesh and get to their core versus an origami has the Oracle cells kind of protecting it, right? And lastly, I guess ashification. Whenever you kill an origami at the end of a mission in God Eater, they literally turn into ash. And then we obviously have the exact definition coming from Code Vein being that they turn to ash whenever they die. So there you go. I hope like at this point your eyes are lighting up. You're seeing some things happen. You know what I'm saying? But if not, let's see if this last part can get you convinced. Really, this last connection is relating to the red mist. Whenever I was in my Discord squad with the Discord squad on the call, I was cracking my brain. After we kind of figured out that whole first part, I was like, bro, what is that red mist? Why does it kill origami? That is a humongous piece to this puzzle. And then 2K just goes, what about red rain? And I'm like, wait a second. How did we not think about that? Red mist, red rain. Let's talk about it. So red rain comes into play in Guider 2, and per Dr. Sakaki's description, he says it's triggered when the world needs to find a new singularity. It needs to assign a new singularity. And so in God Eater's context, this means someone who possesses a specific type of origami core. We already theorized that the hearts of revenants are origami cores. And during your playthrough through Code Vein, if you were paying attention throughout the kind of Operation Queenslayer, we know how they were just pulling dead humans and just putting these BOR parasites in their bodies, and they became revenants and they built the army. But there was one particular who is very unique, right? He was the fastest to go through this transformation. Yakumo took about months, days, weeks, whereas this one person took like whether it's hours, minutes, days. Yes, Gregorio Silva. So before we get into that part, let's continue to talk about Red Rain. In God Eater 2, there was another thing called Red Nimbus, and the Red Nimbus is essentially just a cloud formation of the Red Rain. And if we remember back to the Queen Slayer, or the Queen fight, Gregorio had helped us with a little blood red mist shield of some sort, basically showcasing that he can control this red mist. So what if this red mist that is encapsulating all of the Code Vein world is actually a red Nimbus? The one problem I found with that theory is that red rain kind of powered up origami, right? Scions. But the thing is with that, origami aren't resistant to things immediately. It takes a little bit of exposure and then evolution, right? And there's like 20 years in between God Eater 1 and Code Vein. So if we talk about God Eater 2, it's not that much, it's actually not that much different, but we're still around the 20, 25, 23 years away. So, you know, maybe at this time they weren't able to be resistance to it, right? Because they had honestly just broke out. But it's like that's fine. We don't gotta overvalue that kind of fact right there. Let's continue. In the perfect ending of Code Vein, EO turns into a blood spring. That's basically what it was. And it looks mighty similar to a spiral tree from God Eater 2. And in God Eater 2, when this spiral tree appeared, the red Nimbus disappeared. And so whenever your character goes outside to the red mist, he has a blood bead in his hand. Firstly, it's discolored from being red, so that's already interesting. Secondly, he puts it up to the red mist and the red mist dissipates. What's going on with that? I think Gregorio Silva is a singularity. In some of the flashbacks, like I mentioned, whenever we talk about the whole army, the Revenant army being built, again, he just woke up so fast. Gregorio was one of, if not the fastest. And so it gets me thinking, what if he just had the right core? What if he's like the chosen one in a way? Because that's just unnatural. And then following that, he has control of the red mist. He's the one sitting in that seat, making sure that the red mist is staying up and keeping them safe. That doesn't make sense. And in the final sequence of the game, I'm thinking that while he's sitting in that chair, he forcefully has himself asleep because it lets him control that transformation of being the singularity, right? It isn't until Mito wakes him up and messes up his concentration that he loses control and the transformation takes over, right? And if we think back to God Eater 2, this is the same thing that happens with Julius, who's undergoing singularity transformation. He's asleep, and in his mind, we go into it for after at some point, and we see he's fighting origami the whole time. Like he's fighting being transformed. And at the end of the day, it makes sense that he can control red mist because he's like a pseudo origami. His core is an origami's core, right? So I feel like they should have some of those powers like that. That's kind of why they do have those magical powers, because it's like human mixed with origami. Like more like I don't know, you know, because we do have human and origami, but it's really not the same because it's just their core that's being control, and they still have their mind and everything like that. So yeah, that's all I got on this topic, man. It's fun theorizing, you know, because this could all be irrelevant, this could all be false for the most part, but because there are some points. Great Collapse, the whole idea behind the BOR Parasite Orchestra, they are so obviously connected in some fashion that either it's like they just did that because they wanted to, or there is a real connection going on here. So it is what it is. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about everything I said. You know, I want to know. If you have any more clues, things to add into it, please, I implore you to add it to the comments. So yeah, other than that, that's all I had to say. Hope you guys had a Merry Christmas again, and I will see you all in 2020. Peace. I'ma floss down when these people try to test. If you in my way, I'ma have to put you to rest. Yeah, I know it might sound complex. Everyone around me always wanna be the best.